Welcome back! So today is part 2 of Sasha Sloan's story, and it is a good one. We are finishing up the conversation, asking the final four questions, I think it's 4 questions, and really digging into her TikTok fame, how she started a successful business, what a successful business actually looks like, and so much more. Before we jump into this, I just wanted to remind you guys that you guys can all watch this episode on my YouTube channel. All you have to do is go into YouTube, search my name, search the podcast name. It'll pop up and you can see what me and Sasha look like and watch our podcast episodes on there, which is so amazing and so much fun. So if you got time, head over to my YouTube channel, click that subscribe button if you'd like, and watch our interview there as well. So let's get into it. Thank you, Sasha, for giving so much of your time to us. It was greatly appreciated, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. So let's roll into it.
So when I got back from my mission in California, I switched into the political science program at BYU. Cool. And totally that was it for me. Definitely found my people and found the thing that I wanted to do.
Awesome. And so then everything was stopping and you had to figure out a way to pay for school.
Yeah. So that's when I downloaded TikTok.
Oh.
And so
I'm excited for this.
I didn't know it, but my life was about to change. And it was also a really interesting time because I had just kind of called off this wedding, like the campaign hadn't worked out, and I was totally looking at myself in the mirror for the first time in my life and going like, okay, what do you really want in life? Because up until that point, genuinely, as bad as it sounds, like the way that I was raised was that like, if you're a woman, you should go to college and get an education, but like whatever you want to do with your career, that should come secondary to whatever your husband wants to do, because you should be able to kind of fit your life around him. Yeah. And so I think that genuinely I hadn't really thought critically about what I would choose for my life if I was choosing and not like waiting for someone to help inform my decision making. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And at that time I was kind of like deconstructing my religion and like changing a lot of things about my life. Mm-hmm. And I started posting on a fan account that I made on TikTok called Kylo Squash. And like, I fully made this account originally just to watch like thirst trap videos of Kylo Ren. Like that was all I was there for on TikTok. And like just Kylo thirst traps all day. And then it kind of became this joke, like that I have this like Kylo Ren account. So I started posting some like kind of joking videos about, liking Kylo or whatever. Because it's been a joke in my family for years that like I have a crush on Kylo Ren, which is not even really true, but it's just a family joke,
Yes, I get. Yeah.
So I started posting videos, and then I realized that it was actually really easy to get traction on TikTok comparatively to other social media platforms because, remember at this point I had just done social media for like a big budget campaign. Like I had, worked in social media for probably 4 or 5 years now at this point. Yeah. And so I had kind of a good sniff test of what goes on with like shifting trends and that kind of stuff with platforms. Mm-hmm. And I realized that there was really an opportunity to start a business based around advertising on TikTok because of how easy it was to get things on the algorithm. Because I remembered back in 2010-ish, when Instagram was rolling out, the first people to get on Instagram, those businesses were way better off. Like the earlier that you got in, the better. Because it was just easier to build a following. And so I had the idea, originally it was with my cousin. I was like, let's start a business. And originally it was, let's do bleach dyed t-shirts on Etsy. It was the easiest product.
Come up with this? Like,
it was actually, I had been working on the Huntsman campaign and I had a sweatshirt that they gave me for the campaign that I bleach dyed. And I got a lot of compliments on it. And I was like, oh, I bet I could do this to other things. So I bleach dyed one of my Star Wars t-shirts. And then I was like, oh my gosh, vintage Star Wars t-shirts bleach dyed. Like that's cool. Like, I don't care who you are. That's cool. You could be a 50-year-old man and you're like, oh, that's cool. Vintage Star Wars bleach, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we put out like the first collection and like, it was photographed by me. I made the website, like everything. My cousin was helping me a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
And the first collection like sold out like super fast. So we started just like making t-shirts as fast as we could, you know, just wanting to take advantage of the traffic.
Yeah.
And then we were just making t-shirts left and right, couldn't not keep up with the demand, because at the same time my TikTok channel was kind of popping off.
And you were promoting your shirts on TikTok?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the first video that ever like really went viral for me, like millions of views, I made this mashup video that was like a montage of me practicing my singing for Miss Utah over and over the years. And it was this like inspiring little video about like my road to Miss Utah or whatever. And this was like before I won. This was just about me dreaming of like someday competing at Miss Utah. And that video went like bonkers viral.
Cool.
And I started getting like hundreds of thousands of followers off of that video, and like all of these messages from girls in the pageant world across the country, which was just crazy. You know, because like truly, as hokey as it sounds, like I felt like Miss America in that moment, you know, because there are only 4 million people or so that watch Miss America every year.
Yeah.
And so to have like 7 million people watch this video, that was exposure that like was equal to what I would have gotten if I would have like gone to Miss America. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And so then what like unfolded over the next like 3-4 months, like in the fall of 2020. So I was in school at this point. I was in 18 credits at BYU, and I was originally supposed to be in more credits because I was like, well, if I'm just going to be locked at home for quarantine, like I might as well just do a lot of school.
Yeah.
So I was in fully stat credit load. Anyway, this video of me went viral, and then that sort of just set off like a chain reaction. And then suddenly like everything was going viral, and like all of the products that we were creating. And I had this friend, her name is Teresa Jack, and we'd been friends for years in Utah. And she had tried to start a collage wall business that was geared towards hairdressers. Because there's this girl named Teza who makes collage walls. And we had both followed Teza for years. And we were like, oh, you could do collage walls. And so we had tried it. It hadn't worked out. And so I came to Teresa and I was like, I don't have time to design this product, but like, you're a photographer and here's my idea. What if we did collage walls that were based off of like fantasy aesthetics? Because my channel was becoming popular for being like a Kylo Ren thing. I was like, what if we made it something like nerdy?
Yeah.
And so she went and pulled like our first like 4 kits, and we went and just pushed them out in the world. And they were very different from what they look like right now. But we sent out these collage wall kits, and they were like an instant smash hit success.
Wow.
And so the collage walls popped off, my channel popped off, and it was literally like getting struck by lightning. In that 3-month period, I went from like nobody knowing who I am, like could barely compete for Miss Utah, to having 1.3 million followers, 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. Like my Instagram went from like 3,000 to 30,000 in like 3 months. Wow. And suddenly like I was getting stopped on the street all the time, and like everyone knew who I was. And then this business, we passed $100,000 of revenue in the first 100 days that we were open. Like it just went bonkers big. Yeah. And by Black Friday that year in 2020, it was so big that we were like selling out all the paper, like of the kind of paper that we use. And like the printing company that printed our stuff is like this little company in Utah. They were like, you literally saved our business in the pandemic, because we came in with like tens of thousands of dollars of business for printing to print these collages that we were making, because the business, you know, just went so crazy. And it was really fun for me because like I wanted to have like recycled elements in all of our products. And so part of what we started doing was like recycled journals and incorporating recycled pages into the kits and stuff. And all throughout the process, like I was having so much fun creating content to advertise it on TikTok, because I'd kind of been spending all these years of my life learning these random disparate skills. So I knew how to do like social media, photography, videography, graphic design. I could speak on camera. I could walk on camera. I could model. I could shoot other photographers. I knew Disney really well, inside and out. Like I knew fandom. So I had all these random skills that just kind of came together. And suddenly I was just doing my dream job running this company and running, you know, this TikTok channel that was based entirely around me being a huge nerd for Star Wars and Harry Potter and stuff.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And I just get so excited when I hear this story because it's like one, two, three videos completely changed your life. And like that is extraordinary. And I love that when we talk about, you know, COVID and the pandemic, we're talking about some really positive things that happened for you, which is just like
Yeah.
so incredible. And I have so many questions off of it because for me, myself, I am trying to you know, do all the things I can. I feel very similar to you where I have like, I like to take photos, I like to take videos, I do social media, I like to speak, like I have a bunch of different skills. And I think the hardest thing for me is knowing that I'm multi-passionate, that's what I'm going to call it, and not knowing what to do, where to start. So that's kind of like my question for you is like, if you had to give someone who is multi-passionate a piece of advice on starting a business, starting social media, what would you say to them?
I mean, I would say to just follow different opportunities and let things unfold, but also like don't be afraid to like pursue all of your passions, you know? Like I think there have been a lot of doors open for me in my life, but I think that people maybe don't realize how often I knock. Like Archive Sunday was successful, but it was my fifth business, you know, at 24. And you're in a different ballpark if you're doing this for the fifth time, you know, and like, you know, photography, like I'm not the best photographer in the world, but I've gone down and like pursued opportunities and gotten on Google and like chased it as far as I could go. And I feel like I'm always like applying for random things or researching different things and like looking at different schools and opportunities and stuff. And so I think like I have a view of the world that's very broad and, you know, I consider the world to be very open to me, mostly because of the internet.
Yeah.
And I think that I know that I have a lot of different passions. I'm multi-passionate like you, but also I also realize that I have enough time in my life that I will be able to explore each of those passions in time. So I try not to like limit myself from pursuing whatever I want to go do.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. That is a great piece of advice. And talking about social media right now, I'm curious, like how, when you start growing that big, what is those feelings? What are those feelings when like you're growing and like, what would you say was like a step that helped you keep growing?
Yeah. I would say when you're growing like that, like when you're going viral, it's really high highs and really low lows because like it's the first time that like 50 million people go look at you and decide what they like and don't like. And like they let you know, you know, they let you know if they think that you're ugly or if they think that you're whatever. And so it was a huge rush of like positive feedback and then also a huge rush of negative feedback, you know, that you get both. What I think did help me keep growing is one thing, like this kind of sounds stupid, but I think once you're spinning at a certain level, like to be honest, like if I get like 100,000 likes on something, it looks like 100 to me, you know? And so I just try to tell myself always, I'm like, this is like 100 people. And I try to just not think about the like scale of it because it does freak me out sometimes because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm being perceived by so many people, you know?
Right.
And then the other thing is that I was cranking out content nonstop, but also it was high quality content. I was working hard. You know, I think that I see a lot on TikTok, people saying like, oh, I'm shadow banned. And I'm like, no, you're not shadow banned. What it is that the algorithm is punishing. Like if you put up bad content, you get punished in the algorithm. And if you put out lazy content, you know, or not high effort content, after a while, you can get stuck in a hole. And for me, what I learned is that if I felt my content starting to droop off, I would have to put out some like really high labor content for me, which meant like a photo shoot with cosplayers, or like I go create a new collage wall, or I sit down and research something and make a video that's like well researched with stuff from the Harry Potter books. Like whatever it was, I would just put more effort into like creating a really high value piece of content.
Right.
And so I think that a lot of it I do credit to hard work, because like I was by no means a TikToker that was like putting on a cute outfit and lip syncing. Like I was hustling for the views, you know, and doing the absolute most to create like really elaborate TikToks. And I think that hard work, genuinely, I think that set me apart from a lot of other, you know, young, fresh faced American girls that were trying to do the same thing.
That's amazing advice as well. And the thing that you brought up was like how there's a lot of positives and negatives. And my one question was, how do you deal with those negative comments and those negative, you know, perceptions of you that people may have when they don't even really know you, right?
Yeah. Part of it has been allowing people to get to know me more, you know, because, you know, part of it was that when I first started my channel, I felt like I really felt pressure to stay politically neutral, because that's something that they teach you in Miss America, you know, that you want to really appeal to everybody. And because I knew that I had a business page, I just didn't want to ruffle feathers. And I think the result is that because I wasn't being very politically vocal, people then filled in with their imagination what my political views were. And a lot of people jumped to conclusions about what this blonde-haired pageant girl from little middle of nowhere in Utah, a lot of them jumped to conclusions about what type of person I was. You know, and I remember when I went to Miss America, I got feedback from a lot of the other state title holders that said to me like, oh, I totally thought that you would be stuck up before I met you. I thought that you would be like mean. And I'm gonna tell you right now, like, I am a nice little Mormon girl from Utah. If you've met Mormons, we're not known for being mean. We're being known for being like overly friendly, you know?
I was gonna say, you've been very kind.
Oh, good. Nice. Yeah, like, you know, I really pride myself on being like a kind Mormon Christian welcoming girl. And it was hard when people would jump to a conclusion and imagine me to be something that I wasn't. And, you know, like, and also people would imagine me to be ignorant or imagine me to be bigoted or things. And it was difficult to want to be like, wait, no, you don't know who I really am outside of TikTok. You know, this tiny little Harry Potter version of myself, you know? So I think part of how I've dealt with the negativity is becoming more deliberate in the messages that I share with people. And then you do at a certain point just have to tell yourself, and it becomes more apparent over time, these people don't know me. They do not know me. They don't know the person that my family knows and my friend knows and my boyfriend knows, you know? And so having to create that separation between yourself, it's just hard. You know, even like yesterday, I went to the hair salon and posted a video of like my trip to the hair salon. And I got like 6 or 7 comments about my hair. And at that point, I just like, you know, flipped off the video and was like, I'm not going to deal with this right now. You know, so it's an ongoing thing. And I wouldn't say that I'm perfect at it by any means.
Absolutely. And would you say like that your experience has kind of been this just keep going, you know, you try new things, you keep going? Would you say that that's kind of your experience? Because I'm really curious to kind of get into the Archive Sunday, which is your collage business, and how, I mean, you said you talked to your friends a little bit about making this a whole company. Like, I'm curious how you've made it so successful.
Yeah. So I would say, do you want me to talk about Archive Sunday first, or what was the first part of the question?
Just how like your whole experience has led to Archive Sunday
for
your business life, but just like if you fail and you keep going, that type of thing. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, you know, one of my friends' moms gave me a piece of advice in high school that I really appreciated, which was that if you try out for 10 things, you'll probably get 1. So you have to try like 10 things to get the 1. And another thing that I learned as a child actor, following my sister around during her like child acting career, was I went to like hundreds of auditions where I didn't get cast. And something that you kind of learn in the acting world is that to be an actor, to be a good actor, you know, you could be the best actor in the world, you still have to go to hundreds of auditions and not get cast. And I think that that gave me a resiliency and a perspective, you know, even to entrepreneurship, you know, because every day with Archive Sunday, it's every single day I have to wake up and make a TikTok to sell something. You know, it doesn't stop, doesn't go away. It's constant improvement, growth. But I think the thing that we really nailed with Archive Sunday is that it's so much fun. You know, because we created this business model that was really like welcoming and, you know, about sort of being proud of your nerdiness and that kind of stuff. And it made it really fun and really joyful, I think, to work. And I really tried to curate like a joyful working environment. You know, even like our warehouse is like decorated with like funny fandom stuff. And so I think that in terms of what made Archive Sunday successful, one really huge facet of it is that I brought on my sister Brighton as a business partner pretty early on in when the company was having success. And Brighton's genius is operations, things like shipping and the labels that go on the collages and the dimensions of the packages and what paper company we order from and all that kind of stuff. And we decided very early that like my time was best spent making TikToks and marketing and collages, because there were skills with those things that I had that no one else had. And then Brighton had skills that no one else had in terms of operations.
Right.
And so I ended up selling out a 50% equity share of the company. So I sold out half of my ownership and brought her on as a partner. And then I brought on a team of really great employees. And like, I look back at the people that made Archive successful, it's our employees. It's like Sydney and Tony and Janessa and Brighton and Karina and Lorenza and Alexis and, Marinda and so many people that have worked for us and made it happen, because it became clear very fast that it was bigger than I could handle on my own. And it was completely help from our staff, my family and friends that made it possible.
And did you ever feel like you're like, I want to be in control of it all, and like I want to do it by myself, because I'm at a place where I'm like, I don't know who to trust and I want to start things, but I'm like, I got to do this all on my own. I have that mindset where I'm like, I got to do this on my own. And so I'm curious to see if you had that similar struggle and how you kind of opened up and were like, no, we need a team here.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. The hardest thing for me was giving up creative control on social media and giving up creative control in the collage kits. Because on the website right now, I designed less than half of them. And most of them, I had nothing to do with the design process. And that was a really hard thing to step back and be like, hey, no, I can't do it all. I can't design a new collage kit top to bottom every single week and put out content and be like, you can't do it all,
Yeah.
And so I think learning to relinquish control, like that is a huge, huge, huge aspect of being an entrepreneur. And that was the steepest, hardest learning curve for me, and something that I think I'm still working on. But I do think I had a great perspective of it because, I've been hired to be a graphic designer by a company before, and I've been hired to run social media. So I've been on the other side, and I remember how stifling it felt to not have creative control over things. And so I've had to like give creative control to my employees, or people that are working with me, because you need creativity to find joy if you're producing art,
Absolutely. I love that answer. And what would be one of the biggest challenges you faced since you started Archive, and one of the greatest things that have happened since you've started it?
Probably the challenge is just the daily challenge of, waking up and making content, because our business model totally rides on me creating content and promoting it, because we have to market, we don't run ads. And so there is kind of that like constant, pressure. But then the most rewarding is absolutely our audience, because we have with Archive Sunday this, probably like 50,000 or 100,000 people that like really know what Archive Sunday is and have been so supportive of it, and have sold out our drops and supported our collages, and they comment on our videos, and they're just awesome. So definitely the community that we've created.
Oh, that's awesome. And I do have to say, the collages are amazing. I'm going to put the website link down below. My sister got 3 of them, and she has them all over her walls. She loves Harry Potter. And so like, if you walk into her room, it's literally like your collage is the walls. There's no paint. It's just it's just your collages, and they're so beautiful. So I definitely recommend you check it out, especially if you are into like Harry Potter, Star Wars, all those different things. Yeah. I definitely recommend. And the one thing I really love about your company, which I've heard you touch on a couple at times, is just that you're being uniquely you, and you were not trying to resist and not trying to be anyone else. And so I'm wondering if you could speak on that a little bit, on not trying to fit inside the box, trying to go outside of it, and your experience with that.
Yeah. I feel like this is something, I feel like maybe you'll relate to this, because the older that I've gotten, the more that I've decided that this is something very particular to white women culture. and I can't speak to really any other culture. I can just speak to mine.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the society that I was raised in, women are almost conditioned to be neutral accessories to men. And so there's this pressure to be like neutral as a woman, like not too left, not too right, not too hot, not too cold, like just neutral and appealing. And the mean word for it is basic. People will be like, oh, you're basic.
Yeah.
But it's because women are conditioned that if you like lean anywhere outside of this narrow range of acceptable basic behavior, then it's like you're too much, you're crazy, you know, one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for me, like the older that I've gotten, I realized that the thing that I didn't like about myself when I was a kid, which was that I felt so different from everybody else. Like I've always been just kind of a different, weird cookie. Like just, you know, I've always just felt like I had a hard time relating to other people, or that I had a hard time fitting in. And the older that I've gotten, the more that I've realized, Sasha, that's good. Like you're special, you're different. Like this is a positive thing about you. And this idea of like neutral or normal, there is no neutral or normal. Nobody necessarily fits that. You know, everybody, you know, has their different interests and personality things and quirks. And so you have to just play with the deck you're given, and you have to learn to love whatever body, whatever personality and mind and set of skills you were sent to this life with, because the skills that I have are not necessarily what I would have asked for, but you know, it's what I've got and it's what I have to play with, you know?
Oh, I love that. And that's so powerful. And I do relate and agree with that. It's like when we become older, the things that we used to like think were shameful or not cool or something that we really are love about ourselves when we're older. Like for me, I was always like the odd one. I always felt so odd at school. Like I felt like I stood out, and I loved theater, and I thought that I was so weird for that. I really did. And now I'm like, I love that side of me. It helps me like perform and like bring out my goofy side, I guess. I don't know, but it's like it's as you get older, you kind of realize those things that you used to be ashamed of are things that make you who you are and need to be celebrated more. So I love that.
For me, my TikTok channel would have never gone viral if I was like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I can't say that like I have just the maturity and the wisdom that I would have figured this out. I figured it out because people were commenting and they were like, oh my gosh, I love how like weird and unique and different you are. Like you, because I feel weird and different and unique. And once you realize like, oh, there are millions of people that also feel weird and different and unique. Why are we all feeling this way together? You know, we should all just be happy with what we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. All right. So you started this business. It was super successful. I want to talk a little bit more about Miss Utah and Miss America before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
So you are Miss Utah, so you had to have won the competition. What was that like for you?
Yeah. So I would say 2020 was, in a way, that was kind of like my Miss America year, like quote unquote. Because what happened was like, since my like TikTok channel went off, I got to have this very unique experience of having millions of people watch my journey from local to Miss Utah to Miss America. Like I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that more people watched my TikTok channel the week of Miss America than watched the Miss America broadcast itself on NBC. Yeah. And that was like just mind blowing. Like I'm
checking for updates. I was like, what's going on? I was like, what's going on?
It was just so surreal because I went from literally in 2019, I had this screaming conversation with my parents. I'll never forget it, where both of my parents were like, you could never win Miss Utah, like drop out. You're never going to win. To like in 2021, when I was going to Miss America, I had millions of people that were like watching and checking it. You know what I mean? It was just crazy, totally crazy. And so I felt like when I arrived at Miss Utah in 2021 to go compete, I was a completely changed woman. I was blonde for one. I looked totally different. And also I had this business. I had more than 1 million followers. I knew who I was. Like I knew who my brand was, and I knew exactly what I would bring to the table as Miss Utah or as Miss America. And then the other thing was that this was the first time ever that I was competing with refugee advocacy as my platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really interesting because I was so fortunate that I won that year. And then at the same time, at the same year, kind of in the background, there was this girl named Sharuk. Her name's Sharuk Al-Jawari. And she is from Iraq originally. And she came over here as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And she joined this organization called Their Story is Our Story. And shortly after I won Miss Utah, we both happened to be at an event at the same time at World Refugee Day celebration.
Cool.
And we ended up meeting up and we went like, oh my gosh, like the two of us are going to do a presentation together. And we're going to go work on refugee advocacy together, because I'd kind of been looking for someone to work with throughout the year.
Wow.
And that was about the same time, you know, so I started working on this project with Sharuk that was super exciting. And then the US withdrew from Afghanistan. And we suddenly had an influx of hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing Afghanistan, which suddenly made refugee advocacy very much a timely issue in the US and, you know, and across the world.
Yeah.
And so as I was preparing for Miss America, that was really exciting that I was going to get to like work on this issue at this really, you know, pressing time where I felt like people actually were paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to go compete at Miss America, and I got to make the top 10, which I got to sing on stage, like on national television. And I got to share my social impact pitch and share the message of refugees welcome at Miss America, which was just super, super exciting to me. I was just over the moon. And then since coming back this year, I've continued to work with Sharuk, and we just kicked off our school tour. And ironically enough, our first school, like our first thing to kick off the tour, was at the college that I was at when I decided to break off the engagement and compete for Miss Utah.
Wow.
It was like the same place. It was like this surreal, like full circle moment driving back to Logan, Utah, like 3 years later as Miss Utah with this platform, like knowing like this is where I'm supposed to be in my life at this time, and everything about my life is different now. And so it's been really, really cool. And so that kind of brings us up to present day. And that's what I'm doing right now, is working full time on refugee advocacy with Sharuk. And we are trying to get into as many schools as we can in Utah before I give up my crown in June. And then I will keep doing presentations with Sharuk, but just as Sasha Sloan. So less exciting.
That's so awesome. And I have to ask, for people who don't know, what's the difference between receiving Miss Utah and Miss America?
Mm-hmm. So Miss Utah is your state title. And then all 51s, because, you know, all the states and then DC go compete at Miss America. And whoever wins out of all the states, that's Miss America. Mm-hmm. And so they're similar. Both are a full-time job. Miss America just does it on the national scale, you know, so she travels more around the country. But to be honest, being Miss Utah is about as cool as being Miss America. You know, you get to work on your job full-time and do advocacy, which is really, really cool.
That's so awesome. And then when you were competing for Miss America, what was that like? And you got top 10, you said. So being in top 10 and not reaching Miss America, what was that like for you?
Oh, I gotta be honest, when they called my name that I was like eliminated, or they didn't call my name, it was like pure relief.
Oh, really?
Through my body. If I'm 100% honest, because I never wanted to be Miss America. I never set out to be Miss America. That was never what I was trying to do. I wanted to be Miss Utah. And then what happened was I won Miss Utah when I happened to have like 1 million followers. Yeah. And so a lot of people in the pageant world were like, oh yeah, like Sasha's going to do great at Miss America. And I'm like, I barely made it out of Utah, man. It's a lot of pressure for me, you know? And so I really was just relieved, because it had been so much pressure. And I love my job with Archive Sunday, like love what I'm doing. And so I didn't really want to give up that platform and that opportunity, you know, as cool as it would be to be Miss America. And the person that won, Emma, she was Miss Alaska. I don't have one bad thing to say about her. She is fantastic, like so authentic, so real, stunningly just kind and articulate. She's awesome. So I think she is perfectly suited for this. And I am very, very happy to go back to Utah, because to be honest, I kind of already feel like I had my like quote unquote Miss America year, because like, you know, it sounds like, maybe it sounds egotistical to say that, like I'm not claiming by any means that I got to do that, but like I did get to have like a lot of people in America watching me for a year.
Yeah.
And the opportunity that I had to share like refugee messages, that is so unique. And I recognize that I have that even if I'm not, you know, given the chance to be Miss America. I have my online platform, which is a gift in and of itself.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And my last question before we go to the final four is did
Yeah.
you ever I saw a video once of yours that talked about manifestation. And I'm wondering
Yeah.
how you manifested the life of your dreams and how that kind of played a role in your business and your life so far.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I am a fiend about manifestation. I have written in a journal basically my whole life.
Mhm.
And I really, really believe in the power of like writing down your goals and writing down what your dream life is and getting specific about it. Because if you don't know what you're working towards, if you don't know what will make you happy, how do you think that you're going to make yourself happy if you don't know what that looks like for you and what that lifestyle feels like? You know, so like for me, I know that creating art makes me happy, so my dream life has to involve creating art. And so I have like, even in my journal, this was really surreal. Right before Miss America, I opened up and I had a drawing that I had sketched in 2019, right after I'd called off my wedding, of this like imagined gown that I would wear at Miss America.
Yeah.
And I literally opened it up and I drew Crown and Sasha on it because I was trying to manifest it, but like,
Yeah.
no. But so I pulled up and I was like, that is literally the exact cut, slit, length, everything of the dress that I ended up wearing at Miss America. And I'd completely forgotten about that.
That's awesome.
And I feel like, and also with Archive Sunday, I could show you the page in my journal. I have it written like, I will have 1 million followers. I will be a national voice for nerdy women. Like I will have a business that will inspire so many people. We will make $1 million. Like all of these things. And like, it's been surreal to just like see it come to fruition over time, you know? And of course there's work to back that up, but I do believe like manifestation gives you clarity and it helps you center your thoughts of like, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to work towards it.
And do you do something daily that gets you to those goals? Like I've heard people write down like their top things and they write it down and like that they've already achieved it. So like I am a millionaire or something like that, if that's your goal. Do you do something like that?
Honestly, I don't do things daily just because of who I am, my workflow. I'm more like free spirited. I try to do something in my journal. And one thing that I think does help me is I try to dump my thoughts daily, but it doesn't usually come out as like a very neat to-do list. I'm more of like a follow the dopamine type of a person.
Yeah.
But one daily practice that I do have is I am really into positive self-talk. And that's something that I've learned over the years, especially as I was developing my Girls Empowered social project, was learning how important it is that the messaging that you're telling yourself is positive. And so like, especially with competing in Miss America, I had to tell myself, Sasha, you are beautiful. You're amazing. You're a good singer, even if you don't feel it, especially if you don't feel it. You know, I'm always talking positively to myself. And then the other thing that I do is, this sounds so silly, but I use music to manifest. And what I do is I tie certain songs to like certain moments of like achievement or things in my life. Like I'll play a song and like imagine myself walking down a red carpet. And I'll play the song over and over and like that song will become like walking down a red carpet. And like I did that with Miss Utah and with Miss America, and I had songs that was like, "Hey, this is me like winning Miss Utah. This is me winning Miss America." And like when I got to Miss Utah in 2021, one of the evening gown songs was like one of my visualization songs, and I was like, "Ah, that's so cool," you know, like. But that's definitely a way that I enjoy doing it because for some reason music just triggers more of like an emotional reaction. Because with manifestation, you have to like physically trick your body into believing that you have whatever you want. You know, you have to evoke those emotions in yourself and make it real. And I feel like music just makes it easier for me to like imagine myself winning Miss Utah or like imagine myself like publishing a book or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. And to talk about publishing, I'm curious, what's the future going to be for you after Miss Utah? I know you said you're going to still do some refugee presentations, but what else is next for you?
Yeah, my biggest dream, I've got 2 goals. I want to talk on TV. So I don't know what that looks like. I'm probably going to like aggressively pursue YouTube, maybe mix some more like news content into my TikTok. And then I want to publish a book. That is my biggest thing. And so I don't know if you follow my TikTok channel, I do this series called The Noble House of Black. That's like a Harry Potter fan fiction.
Yeah.
And I'm actually staring at my manuscript for it. I think we're at like 60,000 or 70,000 words now. So we're a ways away from it being done. But my plan is to like release that for free and hopefully like get some feedback, maybe build a little bit of an audience like as a writer, and then try to pursue publishing like my own work, you know, hopefully with like a publishing house, or I might look at doing like an independent publishing model. One of my heroes, Brandon Sanderson, just did this like amazing crowdsourced campaign. So I've thought about maybe doing that, but it would have to depend on how the Noble House of Black book is received, because it's a little bit terrifying that like the first time I'm going to share writing with the world, like it could and probably will go to hundreds of thousands of people to criticize it. And so I'm a little bit terrified about that, but I think hopefully it'll be good.
That's totally fair. All right, so let's go into the final 4 questions. These are questions that I ask every interviewer, and they're my favorite, so I leave them till the end. So the first one is, what is some of the best advice you've received, and from whom?
My mom always says, the only person I can change is me. And I love that. That's been life-changing advice.
I love that. I love that so much. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, the next one is, what is some of the worst advice you've received?
I'm trying to think through everything. I feel like all of the bad advice has a story that goes along with it. I have been told a lot of times, even this year, to lose weight for Miss Utah and Miss America. And if anything, like I carry a little bit more pounds on me, a little bit more fat and muscle than the average pageant girl that you might picture. And I think if anything, it has made me a better Miss Utah, because it's made me more real and more approachable, because I do not look like someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. and goes to the gym, because that's not my lifestyle. I have a very healthy lifestyle that works for me. And so I think that's probably the worst advice I've gotten, is that I would need to change anything about myself physically. Like I have had to learn to stop that messaging and say, no, I do not have to. Lord knows that's not a healthy option for me. And the healthiest for me to be is exactly how I am when I don't restrict myself with food at all.
And that shows growth, huge growth. Because if we think about the beginning of your story, where we talked about all those issues that you had before, and you're like, no, I'm not going to let that affect me. So that's huge. I love that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Next one is, what is a piece of advice that you would tell your younger self or someone in the younger generation? A piece of advice. What advice would you give your younger self or someone in the younger generation?
I think basically what you just said. I have a lot of regret about my younger years when I think about how much time I wasted worrying about my body. Because what's so sad is that I was beautiful then, beautiful now, and it was a complete waste of time. So that's probably the advice that I would give is, hey sis, don't worry about it. You're going to be so hot when you're 25. And then the other piece of advice that I'd probably give myself is that you have more time than you think that you do. I think in life, it's so easy to feel like we're behind schedule, and everything in the schedule is rolling out exactly how it should be. If I would have won Miss Utah or any of the state pageants that I tried when I was a teenager, I would not have won it at the correct time, because I would not have had my business. I wouldn't have my online platform. Everything about my life would be different. And so the timing, I had to just trust to roll out in the way that it was supposed to for me. And so that would be the biggest piece of advice.
Mic drop. Poof. That was so good. I love that. All right. The last question, we end every interview in a state of gratitude. So I'm going to ask, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for Sharuk. She is my partner and buddy this year with Miss Utah, and she has been working with me so hard on this presentation, and she is the only person I know that I think is busier than I am. And so I am very grateful for her, for the work that she has put in and the time that she's taken out of her day, you know, over and over and over again to do this work, because it's even more vulnerable and even more impressive for her to come do this work and do this advocacy. And so I am very grateful for her.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for giving me so much of your time today. It has been so much fun to get to know you and learn all about you. And you gave so many great pieces of advice. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sasha. I have to express my gratitude to you, because this interview was very big for me and you were a delight to talk to. You You were easy to talk to, and you had so much to share about your life, and you were just genuinely, authentically you, and I appreciate that so much. Don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment. Let us know what you think of the One World Countless Story podcast, and stay up to date for what's coming up next week. And that's all I have for you guys today. We will see you next week for another amazing story of Tammy Butcher. I'm so excited for her to share her story. It is a very good one as well. So see you guys later.